right, guys, welcome back to episode 78. This is of Stone and Clay. I am Taylor Church. You know that, probably, hopefully. And we've got a lovely guest today. We've got Terrell Baker, my man. Thanks for joining.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, I appreciate your willingness to be here, your whaling hat.
Yeah.
Dude, when did we become friends? Well, are we looking at like 2 years?
Well, there was that one time where we were at a party and I said some joke to Spencer, and then he like tried to make me say it to you guys at the party, but it didn't really go over well.
Didn't land.
Yeah. So I don't count that one.
Okay, we weren't friends then.
And I think after that, we went to, I think we watched like a game at Spencer's place once.
Okay. Yeah.
And then,
Yeah. No, you're one of those guys that I'm like, why aren't we better friends? And it's just because we haven't hung out more.
that's actually the reason.
Right? Like anytime we hang out, it's good vibes. We went to Lake Powell together.
Yeah.
That was a highlight.
It was a big highlight.
Yeah, so
Didn't kill anyone.
no, not a single person. There were some close calls. But
luckily.
we'll talk about that on a different special episode. Well, dude, I want to talk to you. There's a lot of things I want to talk to you about, but first tell me, I know you've kind of had you're a musician.
Yeah.
And also you've recently gotten way into what would you call it? Just an obsession with health, biohacking, Holistic health. Okay. And I know we've talked about a lot of things that you're interested in, and some of it I don't think there's much I like disagree with. There's just a lot that I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, bro. Go nuts.
You and a lot of other people.
Yeah. But you know what I appreciate about you is you're like super intense about all this stuff, but you don't heavily proselytize.
That's a compliment.
Yeah.
I've worked on that.
Because most people like you that are very into holistic things. That's like their day job.
Yeah.
And they're on some sort of crusade.
Yeah.
And it almost becomes, do you feel like it almost becomes like a religion to some people?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I feel like there's a lot of dissonance between you and other people in that world.
And a lot of them. Yeah, because I don't really like, there have been times where I've like kind of subscribed to like the mini cults of health. But it's like, there's kind of like the biohackers, like the, what's his name? Dave something. I can't remember. Or the Brian Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen him.
Yeah.
Vampire Don't Die guy. I despise him. Anyway. But, yeah, like the carnivore vegan, like obviously if I had to choose one, I would go carnivore before I went vegan. But like, yeah, people, they tend to find one thing that works for them and then make it their identity.
Yeah.
And then push it on everyone. There's no nuance.
Right.
It's like we're nuanced creatures.
Right.
There are things that work for everyone, but we're nuanced. Like, not just in health. We're nuanced creatures.
Right,
you have to embrace it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So what was sort of the impetus for you to get into this stuff? I know you used to be a little bit more of a portly fellow.
That's worse than just calling me fat. I was a fatty.
You were a young fatty.
I was a young fatty.
Yeah.
I grew up that way. Yeah.
Were you just eating Jolly Ranchers and Snickers?
No, dude, it was Flamin' Hot Cheetos.
Really?
I'm talking straight up addiction. Like, what's funny, this is a tangent. I learned, this was recently, that the reason people like eating spicy stuff is because it releases endorphins in response to the pain.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Which are like opioids, like our body's own
So
opioids.
maybe more the spicier it is.
Yeah. So I say I was addicted, but I was actually addicted.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
So what about the Mexicans? That's just part of their culture?
I think they're also addicted, and the Asians. It feels good.
Yeah.
Except I think theirs aren't laced with poisons, but
but you get acclimated to it, just
yeah,
like anything.
yeah. I think the reason that it wrecks us like Americans is because it's like spicy food along with poison stuff,
Yeah.
like Cetos and other stuff. So it's like actively breaking you.
Is it more hurting your stomach, or because for me it hurts on the exit?
Yeah,
I can handle the
yeah.
intake. The exit.
It depends on the person, but yeah, it's both.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the lining of the inside, almost like the same way stuff would burn your skin, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah. So that was where like I started, and so when I served a mission to the Philippines, um,
Were you fat when you went out there?
out of the MTC, I was over 200, bro,
Oh, really?
and like I was a little shorter than I am now.
Let's give some context. How tall were you at 200?
I was I'm like 5'7.5" right now. Maybe I was like 5'6", and I was like 205 when I got there.
Okay, yeah.
I was a chunko with like no muscle, like zero
Right.
muscle. I couldn't do a pull up. I couldn't do one pull up.
Really?
Which hurts me to think about, like physically pains me. But I got to the MTC, I was like that. I got to the Philippines, I was like that for the first 3 or 4 weeks, and I was just kind of
the
like
Philippines doesn't see
a
a lot of chubby black short.
no, actually, one of the things I realized that I think like actually changed it for me. Well, it was one of the things. Was there was this family we would teach, and they were homies, and the Filipinos, they're weird because they're like passive aggressive, like they'll hide from you, but then they're like really blunt about weird stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like if people are fat, they'll just call you fat.
Yeah, same with Brazilians.
Yeah, and it was funny. There's this one family. There weren't very many fat people there, at least where I was, because they were farmers. But this girl, one of their sisters, was fat, so it was ironic that it was them. But I would go in and they're like, "Hoy, parang baboy ka," which is like, you look like a pig. You look like a big fat pig. And I was like, first time they said that to me, I was like, what?
Yeah.
You look like a pig? Like, you look like a pig. And I was like, you look like a monkey. Perfect. We went back and forth, but it stung, you know?
You know, these sound like racial slurs, but they actually weren't.
Yeah, if it was the opposite, then, you know. So that was like one thing, but no, yeah, while I was there, I had like I think I had a lot of coming to Jesus moments, but there was one moment where we were like having a training, and I was like snarky about it too. Like I wasn't one of the guys that's like, yeah, I'm just not like into it. I was like, I don't need that.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I don't care about that.
Were you fat and lazy, or just fat?
Oh, disgustingly lazy.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you grow up playing sports or anything?
I played sports like as a kid.
Yeah.
When everyone else got competitive, like is when I got into music.
Okay.
And spent like a lot of time reading and playing music.
Yeah, yeah.
Playing guitar. It was nice because I read a crazy amount, made me smart.
Yeah.
But I was like mostly alone after.
But the pages were filled with flaming hot Cheeto dust.
I still have books. Like all my books, every single book I read from those years, there's red marks on all of them.
That's good to hear.
I was the kid with not the like orange Cheeto fingers, the red Cheeto fingers.
And in your fingernails.
Yeah, it was disgusting.
Okay, good.
I was a monster.
Okay, so you're fat, unforgivably lazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was just kind of like snarky about it. Like it was like obviously cope, you know, like because there was a period where I wrestled and I lost some weight and I was like, I was sick, but then I gained it all back because I worked at KFC, which is ironic.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, there was a moment in there. We were doing some training. I don't remember what the training was, but like the mission president and his wife, they were like, yeah, we do like, you know, it's supposed to be like 30 minutes of exercise, but we do like 45 minutes. We get up early just because it allows us to serve people better, like serve God better. And my first thought was like, oh, that's stupid.
Yeah.
and then it was like, I was like transported. This is actually like, yeah, it's like one of the defining moments of my life where I was like I was not there for a minute, and it was like, God, I think my heart had been opened enough that God knew that I would listen, but I was like pulled out of the moment and could like see myself, and not just like sitting there, like see myself in my entirety, like my selfishness and my laziness and my potential and how far I was from reaching it.
Yeah.
And like every bit of the stumbling blocks, it was like very painful, which is why I joke about it now, because now I'm what I envisioned that I would be like 10 years ago, you know, which is cool. But anyway, so that was where it all really started, because I was like, I think it was like 30 seconds, but it felt like a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I like snapped out of it, and people were talking, and I was like,
so you like had ayahuasca without taking it?
dude, I was like, what just happened?
Yeah.
I like, to this day, it was like, I've never, it was crazy clarity. I was like, oh, I like saw my heart, and I saw like my intentions and like my addictions and the way that I treated people, and then like really clearly who I could be. And it was this interesting pair where God was like, you're kind of a mess.
Yeah.
You're not great.
Right.
And like, I love you, but you're not doing great.
Yeah.
And then the other side was like, this is where you could be.
Yeah.
And like, you can get there, and I'll help you get there, but it's going to take a while. So anyway, it was like all that in a split second. And so then that day there was some guy in the mission that had the Insanity videos, you know, like P90X guy.
Yeah.
It's like Insanity was like just the bodyweight version of him. So I got him from him that night, and then I did that for 9 months, which is awful.
Yeah, which is insanity, right?
It was deeply unpleasant.
Yeah.
Like walking 10, 15 miles a day and like 120 degrees. I honestly don't know how I did it.
Yeah.
But I lost like 50, 60 pounds that year.
Wow.
In the Philippines. And then, yeah.
Are you just eating rice and bats or something? What are you eating?
Yeah. Rotten pig. That's actually kind of true. No, it's like, it was mostly rice, eggs, fish.
Mm-hmm.
What's the beef? Corned beef. Yeah. Canned corned beef.
Oh, yikes.
Some gross snacks that tasted good. It wasn't great.
Yeah.
Some of it was great, but it was mostly just because I like started doing stuff and understanding more of like the circadian health now. Like it was because of where I was. Like,
yeah.
It's like I'm dark skinned. I'd been in Utah my whole life. I was in like a truly tropical place with enough sun for 2 years.
Right.
My body was thriving.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was that. That was how I got started. Oh, sorry, my hamstring's cramping.
Oh gosh, dude, all this holistic health is doing nothing for you, bro.
Oh, I ran like 3.5 miles yesterday. Oh, okay, we're good.
Wow, I've never had this happen.
Oh yeah, sorry.
No, you're good.
That was how I initially got into it. So then I got home 2016, and it became one of the things where it's like you make yourself unhealthy trying to be healthy.
Like just being obsessed with it.
Yeah, I was also like really afraid of getting fat again. And so for like 4 years, 4 years, I just like, I would go to the gym. I didn't really make gains. I was like skinny fat, and I didn't eat enough. I wasn't starving myself, but like I didn't eat enough, not even close, for a long time. I tried like every diet under the sun. Would dive into things, but I kind of dove into surface level. It was always like mainstream nutrition.
Yeah.
And then like 2019, I like couldn't. So I'm going to school at UV, music school, singing, commercial music production, performing. 2019 hits. I'm like teaching guitar, gigging. I just started playing like weddings. I'm doing like voice lessons. I have a bunch of different classes, using my voice like all day, every day.
Yeah.
And I started like not being able to sing right. Like I just was pitchy, which I had never been before. And it was harder. Like, you know, when like, oh, he plays spike ball. Yeah. It's a good analogy. It's like, you know, like if you move in a certain way, like it would just be muscle memory. Like, you know, if you moved this way, the ball would go that way. And you'd get this bounce. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, I don't know, if you like lost muscle in your bicep or like your leg wasn't working, like you'd tell your brain the same thing, but it wouldn't work the same way. It was like that. And I've never experienced it before. So I went to the doctor and I had like irritation in my vocal folds, which are like very delicate.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, fast forward, they put me on acid reducers and then it got worse. And then I went to a different doctor later after it got worse, and I'd gotten like a full blister on my vocal folds.
Mm-hmm.
He put me on even more intense acid reducers, and all the while my health is like crumbling.
Yeah.
And stressed. It was like I was mostly alone. Like this is 2020 now.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't see my family for a long time. And then it, with the little blister I had, popped and became a really, really big blister.
Mm-hmm.
And I like couldn't speak.
Oh, geez.
Like speaking this loud was like really hard.
Uh-huh.
And couldn't sing like at all, which seems silly, but it's like that. I'd been the guy that sang like my whole life.
Yeah, that's what you do.
It's kind of my identity.
Yeah.
Not kind of, it was.
Right.
And I was good at it, you know. So anyway, fast forward, did that with him. I go back after it bursts, and I go in there, and he basically was like, "Yeah, you're like pretty much screwed. Like, you could do surgery, and you know, like it might help, but like you're never really gonna get back what like you had. It's like you're never really gonna like sing great again. You could get to the point where you're like talking and stuff."
Yeah. Oh, thanks, Doc.
Dude, and this is after like he gave me the medicines that made it worse.
Yeah.
So anyway, that hit, and that made me really, really mad. Like, as you know, I'm very intense
Yeah.
about the things that I do and believe.
Yeah.
And I was furious.
Yeah.
So I was like, "Are you kidding me, bro? Like, I don't accept it. I don't think you're right. I don't think that's true."
Yeah.
So that's how I got into the holistic side.
I've been on YouTube. I know. It's fine.
I've been there.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. Something like my gut was just like, this guy's not right.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's got to be a way to fix it.
Yeah.
And there's got to be a reason that I feel so awful all the time.
Yeah.
And at that point, like I couldn't eat normal. Like I was always bloated. My hair was falling out. I had acne. Like my joints were falling apart.
Jeez.
I couldn't lift.
Yeah.
I was a mess, dude.
You were going through menopause.
I was 24. This, I guess, this is as close to a midlife crisis, a quarter life crisis as I'll have. I was 24 and like straight up falling apart.
Wow, yeah.
And this was like, then COVID was hitting, and it was like I had a lot of time alone to think.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that's how I got into the holistic side, where I was just like, I don't think he's right.
Yeah.
And then I had a buddy that he's kind of one of my schizo buddies.
Okay.
Yeah, I love him. And he introduced me to like a couple of concepts like raw milk and like seed oils and grains, and then a couple of like accounts online. And that led me down rabbit holes that led me into like gut health and like fixing my gut and doing other stuff. And that led me into this like whole sphere online of learning things. And then I ended up a year later, within the next 2 years, I fixed my gut, but I fixed the reflux that had caused that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did vocal therapy and like did exercises like religiously every day. Like I didn't speak or sing above like a low whisper for straight up a year.
Wow.
Yeah, everyone hated me.
Yeah.
Because they had to be like 6 inches away to hear me.
And you were just like, I can't.
That's literally what it was, dude. It was stupid. It was, yeah. So anyway, that was that. I went back to him the end of that year, or like 9 months later or something, and it was gone. Like this big blister that he told me I had to have surgery, and then even then I probably wasn't gonna be able to fix it. Yeah. And he was like, "What did you do?"
Yeah.
I was like, "I fixed it, bro."
Yeah, don't worry about it.
Yeah. And so like, we good? You're gonna charge me for this too? I'm sure.
Yeah.
He had some assistants that were very helpful.
Yeah.
But then that was like where it started. And then from there I was like, oh, like I can fix myself.
Yeah.
So then I had knee issues. I fixed my knee, and then I fixed my shoulders, and then I fixed my gut, and then got into nutrition. I did like a nutritional therapy, like
what about your
year-long
butt?
course.
How's your butt?
I never needed fixing.
Okay, that's what I thought.
I inherited that from my dad. So anyway, that's how I got into it, and overall, it like started out, or maybe at some point, it really started out because I understood that, at least for me, the path to changing my mind and my spirit and my heart was changing my body.
Yeah.
Like that was the catalyst that allowed me to understand that, like, with God I could change the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really, like, I think what encapsulates the journey. But yeah, that's short version.
Yeah. So how, for you, how correlated is your mental health with your physical health?
I mean, I think they're one and the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously I think there's aspects of it spiritually and emotionally that play into it,
mm-hmm.
you know, relationally. But it's like I don't think we're just a concoction of chemicals,
mm-hmm.
but our brain is where our mind resides.
Yeah.
So you can't be well mentally if you're not well physically. It's like I work at a treatment center
mm-hmm.
right now, and I won't say what it's called so I don't get fired for what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
But most of them never go outside.
Mm-hmm.
And
is it sort of like a halfway house?
Yeah, it's kind of similar to like college dorms.
Mm-hmm.
It's like helping them get reintegrated.
Yeah.
Into like society. So like some of them have come from more intensive programs.
Mm-hmm.
They come here, or some of them are on the spectrum, or you know, had depression, that kind of stuff. But it's honestly wild to me that, like, I think they've done a little more recently to try to change it. Mostly they've ignored the suggestions that I've given, which is fine. It's not my business.
Yeah.
But it's like, to me, it seems like trying to put out a fire with gasoline.
Mm-hmm.
If you're like giving someone therapy for their problems, but they're 100 pounds overweight, they never go outside, they stare at their phone all day, they never move. It's like, they're not going to feel good.
Right.
Especially men.
Yeah.
You're just not going to feel good.
Right.
You're not going to feel good about yourself.
Why is it especially men?
I think our nature is to be strong.
Mm-hmm.
And we're also, this one's going to get me canceled, but hey,
if we're big enough to get canceled, I'm happy.
I'm convinced that all men are autistic.
Okay.
To some degree.
Yeah.
And the reason that that's relevant is because I think that we're really, really, really bad at lying to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Like, really bad at it. And for better or for worse, women are better at lying to themselves. They just are. But like men, it's really hard.
Yeah.
Which I think is, I don't say this to be dark, but the reason that like male suicide is a lot higher.
Yeah.
Because you have these conflicting signals where like they're saying, hey, you're fine just the way you are, just exactly how you are. Like, you should feel perfect the way you are. But he's like, no, I don't like the way I look. I'm not confident.
Mm-hmm.
Like, women don't like me very much.
Yeah.
Like, men don't respect me.
Yeah.
I haven't done the things I want to do. I know that I'm not reaching my potential. So then they have these conflicting messages, you know, and it's like, well, I should be happy with it, but I'm not. And then they just get even more miserable.
Yeah.
And so I think that's the biggest reason. And kind of like what I was saying earlier, like, for everyone, but especially for men, just because we're so, like, whether or not people like it, men just physically are stronger than women.
Yeah.
And it's part of who we are as men.
I know some girls that are, you know.
Yeah,
I'm not the strongest.
They're
guy
a little
out
yeeted,
there, but
yeah. But you get the point.
Yeah.
It's not a better or worse thing. It just is.
Yeah.
And so when men are not at all strong, and this isn't just physically, it's also emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
I think we feel it.
Yeah.
I think it reflects. We feel incapable, and that leads to feeling insecure. And then if you continue trying to lie to yourself, it leads to feeling bitter,
mm-hmm.
and then that'll lead to addictions, and that'll lead to just a a downward spiral of misery.
Yeah. It's crazy how for me I've always been a sports guy, you know?
Yeah.
Always been very competitive and
You're the guy that's naturally good at sports, huh?
I mean, that's a spectrum too, right? Like I'm not crazy athletic. I'm like more athletic than most people, but then I'm not like I don't have a crazy like 40-inch vertical.
Sure.
I'm not the fastest guy in the room, but yeah, I was always decent at sports.
Like you could pick up most sports quick.
Yeah, decently well. But probably like you in music, that became like my identity,
Yeah.
you know? But even to this day, like, and I've done a lot of improvement, I think, with attaching my self-worth to how good I do at sports, right?
Yeah.
But to this day, like I feel so much better like if I'm playing sports. And that, but I think it's more just because I'm doing something physical,
Yeah.
right? And so like it's funny, I've always as an adult been in like multiple like city league basketball teams, you know? And the last like year my teams just kind of fell apart. Like guys got injured and moved.
Like, no.
And I'm like, guys, I need this. I need this in a big way. But so I hadn't really played organized ball for like a year. And then some buddies invited me on a team and I played a couple games last week and I just feel so good.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Way
And like I always exercise and I'm always playing spike ball and I weightlift and stuff, but I don't know, just having that extra I don't know, basketball is so physical. You know, it's a lot of running, it's
jumping,
physical
sprinting,
contact. Yeah,
pushing.
it's everything. So I don't know. I'll tell you what, I'm glad I've gotten into golf and I'm not super into pickleball, but I'll get into it more when I'm older.
Old man sports.
Yeah. But like I realize like who knows how much longer I got, but when I'm like can't really play basketball anymore, I gotta transition to something else.
Oh, you have to.
You know?
I don't think there's any way to survive.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. We're made to move.
Yeah.
It's funny, like for whatever reason, I have to know why.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if something works, like I'll try things. I'll try just about, well, maybe not anything.
Yeah.
I'll try a lot of things.
Yeah.
And then if it works, my next question is always why.
Mm-hmm.
So then I dive even deeper into the rabbit hole where a lot of people are just like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
which is fine.
You decide, should I double down?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just like, I want to understand every piece of why it works.
Mm-hmm.
That's just how I am. But it's like, you don't have to. Like, and most people don't care to, and that's fine. Like, you're just like, no, I feel better when I move.
Yeah.
When I compete.
Mm-hmm.
So I should do that.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Right.
You know, it's like the bell curve.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there are a lot of things that I'm just like on the caveman side of the bell curve.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm happy there.
Yeah.
I don't need to be on the shaman side.
Where are you the most caveman in life? I'm sure there's little remnants of your old fat lazy self that tend to peek out their ugly heads from time to time.
Most caveman.
Yeah, where do you struggle? Because I was gonna say I get the feeling, but I know you. You're very disciplined, and you probably didn't used to be very disciplined at all.
No.
You know, but yeah, where do you kind of struggle with things like that?
I think the thing that actually not at the moment, but I think the thing that has held me back at times from being like truly excellent, which is not so much right now, is being okay with good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Getting to 75%.
Yeah.
And being okay with it.
Mm-hmm. Not getting obsessed with becoming a master of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or because the obsession takes you to 80%.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think the discipline takes you the extra 20%.
Yeah.
And I haven't gone the extra 20% very often.
Mm-hmm.
So like one example is like I'm trying to just look like Prison Mike, Prison Mike Tyson.
Yeah, yeah.
It's my goal right now.
Yeah.
And like I think for a long time I was just pretty casual. Like I always eat pretty well, but I would just eat out more often than was great. It wasn't an insane amount. It was still only, I don't know, 4 times a week, and even then I was choosing generally better choices, whatever. But I wasn't eating enough, you know, and like I wasn't consciously being like, how much am I, you know what I mean? Like I wasn't really diving down the rabbit holes. So that's one. Although, you know what? Hailing back to my fat kid days. Excuse me. You can edit that out.
If I'm gonna edit out anything, it's your 2-minute Charlie horse.
Dude, you gotta keep that one in.
No, we keep that in. That needs to be seen.
It's it's straight up talkie addiction, dude.
Oh, really?
Cannot buy them.
Isn't that kind of a cousin of a flaming hot Cheeto?
So much better. Dude. That's the thing. The talkie addiction. I can't stop it. I can't buy them.
Yeah.
I can't be
You
around
can't have
them
in your home.
It's straight up crack to me.
Yeah.
I can't be near them, dude.
Right.
If I'm mildly hungry and there's Takis near me, I'll eat half the bag.
Yeah.
It's the only thing. I could say no to Snickers if I'm starving, but Takis?
Oh. Wow.
Yeah.
That's good to know. Okay, so how did it sounds like growing up you probably didn't have a lot of self-esteem, a lot of confidence.
No, not really.
And I feel like you do now, you know? How is that transition with like dating? Because I feel like dating is like, I don't know, 80% confidence as a man, you know? Maybe more, maybe less, but like you're not really getting anywhere without it.
No.
So how
it can't really be faked.
Yeah, you can have.
They can feel when you're faking it.
Yeah, it maybe can get your foot in the door, but it's not really getting you anywhere.
That's a deep rabbit hole for me. So I don't know if I think we've talked about this, but I grew up without a dad. And so I never I've thought about it a lot. And I think a part of that is I think about everything a lot. Like I always have. Yeah. For better or for worse, you know. But that specifically, I've thought about it a lot because like everything that comes naturally for most dudes just does not come naturally for me with women and relationships. So people will be like, "You're like," that's honestly an Achilles heel for me. Yeah. Like, for sure, that's been one of the hardest things for me. But like one thing I think about, like I have this buddy who's a good friend. He's a homie, you know, but he's like a good old Southern boy. We were roommates in Provo, and I've never seen a man pull women in like this man did. Yeah. Better than you, church. That's saying something, dude.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
It was crazy. It was like gravity. Yeah. Didn't matter who it was. Right. They just fell right in, and it was like second nature. And then I like...
Were you like studying him, or were you just like,
what? I can't help it.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it made sense.
Yeah. But I mean, did it bug you? Like what? Like it comes so easy to him.
Oh, it's infuriating.
Yeah.
Like, and not that there were probably times where I was like cope bitter, maybe, you know? Yeah. I'm not that way now. But yeah, I'd be like, what? Why is this so easy to everyone?
Right.
And then like as time went on, I realized I was like, oh, he like comes from a pretty healthy family. His dad's a Chad. His mom's like a pretty lady, like good relationship, you know, like he probably learned how to relate to women growing up, watching his dad relate with his mom. And for me, it was like I was raised by my mom and my grandma. Yeah. And my aunts.
Yeah, you don't need any riz.
And my female teachers. Well, even more than that, you crave women's approval.
Right, like, which in dating is horrible.
I didn't realize this for years, bro. Yeah. And so I was like almost like the gym cell. Like I know that people would see me from the outside and be like, dude, like, and I wasn't the guy that's like, oh, I hate myself. It wasn't like that. It was just like in this specific realm, I just did not get it. It's like, I think a part of it, and honestly, this is like I still riddle it out a lot, but like I think a part of it is like there's this deeper part of me that has always struggled to believe that I'm worthy for as good of a woman as I want.
Yeah, yeah.
You know? And so that all just kind of like intermingled. And so obviously like growing up, I could get like in high school, I was like, I wish I could show you the picture. I can show you the picture. Can I show you the picture?
Yeah, show me the picture.
This is worth it. You can put it on when I do it. I have it like recently pulled up. That's why I can show you.
Is this you at your best?
16 or 17.
Okay.
Like remarkably so soft.
Yeah.
So like when I was 18, people literally thought I was like 13 or 14, you know? So I was like the cute little brother to everyone.
Right.
But I was still a teenager with all the teenage hormones.
Right.
So it was a mess. Yeah, and that same mindset, like once I got fit, was still in me in dating.
Yeah. And you don't have now. All of a sudden, you're a lot more desirable as a guy, but you don't have any experience, probably. So you're still in a really bad spot.
Still in a bad spot.
Yeah.
I still don't date a crazy amount.
Yeah.
Now, but. So yeah, that was like during those years, I call like 2020 or 2019 to 2023, like my crucible years.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is once I started working out the health things, I learned to be more honest with myself about like a lot of these things. And it was like, oof, like this is a struggle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That I didn't understand. And then it went down into like not understanding like sexual appetites. And like we didn't talk about that in my home.
You and your grandma didn't.
No, dude.
Yeah.
She's busy watching John Wayne.
Right. Yeah. Talk about sexual appetite.
What seriously, dude, as he like carries women into their room? But no, we never talked about it. And so like I had all these flawed ideas, you know, about it, and it just reflected into everything. And so I guess that's kind of long-winded way of like, it's funny how like the last part of confidence for me has come around. That's like the last bit that's had to come around for me.
Yeah.
It's a lot better now than it was. But yeah, it is interesting. Like I was stuck in the fat kid mentality for a long time. And even now still, I'm aware of it. And like, I'm sure you know, like once you're aware of it, it's a lot easier to acknowledge it and push it away.
Yeah.
But like, if I go in a room with pretty girls, like immediately it comes in my head. And I'm like, no, wait.
Yeah.
I'm handsome.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. I can do okay in this room.
I can make funny jokes.
Yeah.
And like, I'm a good guy. Okay, we're good.
Yeah.
You know, but I do like to this day and maybe forever. I don't know. Like I have to repeat like those things to myself. So,
have you had a taste of like, you said you struggle with this idea of like, maybe you want this girl that you don't really merit, you don't really deserve, but you have this girl on a pedestal or this idea of a girl that exists. Have you had a taste of like, oh, I've actually been with girls like that, it just didn't work out? Have you had kind of close calls, we'll say?
I've met girls that I was like,
but did you have any like traction with them?
I don't think I've dated girls.
Okay.
Like seriously dated girls that I was like I've gotten to know girls.
Right.
That.
Yeah.
Gone on some dates, but I don't think I've like dated girls.
Yeah.
That were like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think so.
Do you think and I think most guys struggle with this, with the idea of putting a girl on a pedestal before you even know her.
Well, yeah.
You know, like I think it's great to think the person you love is amazing, but
they're a person.
Yeah, they're still a person, and it's not really fair to put anyone on a pedestal. But I think as guys, because we're so driven by attraction and by the physical, it's so easy to see a girl that's like super your type and be like, I don't know, dude, she's got to be perfect. Like,
there's no way she's not.
I don't see a scenario where she's making a mistake. Yeah. You know, I don't see her. And then, you know, you have one good date and you're like, yep, she's perfect.
That's it.
Like I
I
thought, you know, because, you know, she has the kind of personality you like or whatever. But do you think you struggle with that?
I think it's one of the same things that I'm more aware of now. It still happens, but I'm better now at being like, wait a second. No, she's just a girl.
Yeah, yeah.
She's just a person.
Yeah, yeah. She's flawed like me.
Yeah. But I think that comes with proximity. So like anytime I go a while, like honestly right now I've been grinding pretty hard, like just working on my business, and I still socialize.
Yeah.
I just haven't been around all that many women recently.
Yeah.
And I'm much more prone to do it the less proximity I have to like women less consistently, you know? But yeah, and I think a part of it too is like I realized that a part of it is like as a kid, I learned it's like I don't say anything that I say about like my childhood like self-pityingly. I had a very blessed childhood. Like I was generally a happy kid. You know, like I had people, leaders, parents, whatever. They all loved me. That said, I realized that part of the struggles had been this like struggle with attachment. And I would either hyper attach or aggressively detach. And so I think a part of like the pedestalizing women is this, like in my mind, it's like the way that my mind would work where this kind of like abandoned kid, you know?
Yeah.
I hate using that because I think it's overused these days, but whatever.
Yeah.
It's relevant in this case, but yeah, it's like in that kid's mind, it's like, okay, well, if I'm kind of into it, then I have to be like 110% into it. You know what I mean? Which means she's like up on a pedestal. She's perfect because that's the way that I can hyper attach. Yeah. Or I'm like completely off. Like, no, I don't want to look at you. I don't want to talk to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Not really healthy. So I've had to think about it a lot, and in order to like consciously change it.
Yeah. There's this Kendrick Lamar line where he goes, I got daddy issues. That's on me. I thought that was so interesting. Like what it is it's just like anything in life. We have a lot of built-in excuses. Yeah. You know, and a lot of times they're pretty darn valid. Yeah. But they'll only weigh us down if that's our focus and that's our narrative. You know, it's like, yeah, you probably have some daddy issues because your dad left, you know, but
he went to get some milk, man.
Yeah. Was it
some milk and some smokes?
That's why you're obsessed with raw milk. Yeah. You're like, oh.
Only took one glass.
Yeah. What's your advice to someone who's like, to a guy that feels like hasn't had much experience or success dating, and he's been working on himself, and now he wants to kind of enter the dating field, but he's nervous, doesn't have a lot of experience to draw on. What's your advice to that kind of dude?
I think it's the same advice that I'd given almost any field, which is that become really, 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 really comfortable, or at least okay with looking like a fool. Yeah. Yeah. Like a really big fool. Right. And I get number 2 to that is go country dancing or Latin dancing if you're into that. But like you'll get over looking like a fool. Yeah. And you're in a place where women want to be around you. Like they want guys, they want to be thrown around. Sure. You know what I mean? Not violently. Yeah. For lack of a better term. Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing for me. And sometimes I'm still too proud. Mm-hmm. Most of the time though, I'm just like, it doesn't matter. I could look like an idiot. Yeah. I'm going to say this thing. Right. I want to see what happens. Yeah. You know? Yeah. I think that's like, if I could go back and talk to myself, it would be like, because I'm an overthinker. And so I would go in, and I think a lot of guys are this way, be like, what's the perfect thing to say? not a perfect thing to say, man. Just talk to her.
Yeah.
Look like an idiot.
Right.
She'll probably be like, oh, that was kind of weird. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For a while. Or she'll be like, it was kind of endearing. He's kind of cute.
Right.
Whatever. Just talk to her. That's the W.
Yeah. And the good thing is there doesn't have to be a lot of pressure, because if a girl's remotely into you, like, she'll show some signs.
Yeah.
And so you can just shoot your shot, but you don't need to go talk to her for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, you shoot your little shot, see how she responds, and then go away.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
come back later. How do you feel about country dancing?
Yeah. Let's reassess. How was my approach? How do you deal with depressive feelings, heartache? Like, obviously, you know a lot of things that improve your mental health and that will kind of keep the demons at bay. You know, being physically active, staying, you know, getting good sleep, eating well, all these things help. But when you're hit with something, what's your best way of dealing with the blues? Do you struggle with that much?
Yeah, I have to fight spiraling.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not, I don't think it's, I don't know that I would describe it as like depressive episodes as much as just like one thing triggers another thing,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like usually around business, women, something physical. Maybe it's like if I'm failing in one aspect,
Yeah. Somehow it's correlated to the others.
then it's like, well, I'm doing this bad, I'm doing this bad, and like I'm never gonna be able to like be good enough for that kind of woman. I'm never gonna have a family. I'm gonna never gonna have like a dad, like be a dad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like the spirals. So I think one thing seems silly is like just going for walks.
Mm-hmm.
And like sometimes this has been kind of recently, like sometimes I'll be doing things and it's like I know that God is teaching me something. I'm just kind of mad about it.
Yeah.
And I'm not entitled to be mad about it. I know that I'm not.
You're just not in the mood for a lesson.
I'm just not. I'm just like, dude, I've been going at this for years.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just give me a break.
Yeah.
And I'll like go for a walk and like without fail, I'll go walk a couple miles and I'll be like the stubborn kid. Like, I'm not praying to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'll just walk, and 20, 30 minutes in, it's like, all right, what do I need to know?
Yeah.
What do I need to do?
Yeah.
And so, like, as silly as that sounds, like, there's like the adage that's a joke on Twitter and kind of the circles I run is like, did you go for a walk about it?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
So that's a big one. And I think the second thing is learning to embrace the suffering.
Mm-hmm.
Not in a masochistic way.
Yeah.
But it's like you're turning towards it instead of running away.
Yeah.
You get through it faster if you turn towards it and you get stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a blessing. Like, so like I on my Instagram, I post about cold plunging a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it is good for you for most people, like not if you're sick, but, it is good for you objectively, physically. But the real reason that I do it is because like I'll go in, I go in knowing that I'm just like, I'm going to suffer a bit.
Yeah. Let me embrace it.
It's going to be cold as balls.
Yeah.
And I'm going to sit in it and just sit in it, in the suck.
Yeah.
And then it gets better.
Yeah.
And like, I've gotten better at translating that to my life instead of being like, and I actually think this has a lot to do with why so many people are sad, where they're like, oh, I feel this awful way. I need to get away from this feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, no, you're alive.
Yeah.
Like, you're supposed to feel sad sometimes. Like, you're supposed to be depressed sometimes.
Right.
And frustrated. And so just sit in it.
Yeah.
And it'll pass.
Yeah.
And you'll grow from it. So I think that's another. And then the other thing I think is just like, there are things that I do every day that I never don't do. It's like I always, or at least every week, right? Like I always lift.
Right.
I'm always making progress physically somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't eat garbage food all day.
Yeah.
Because I know it'll make me feel worse. I'll always work on building my business, like making content. I always pray. I always read scripture. Like I always do those things, even on my worst days.
Yeah.
So that I think that's the only way that you can embrace the suffering is because you can know that you're doing the things that will allow you to one day like have whatever, more of the life that you want.
Yeah.
Even as you're embracing like the present moment of suffering.
Yeah. It gives you like, I feel like for me, I have to have just a strand of hope to hold on to.
100%.
And so, but sometimes that hope is something so small. It's like, I know I feel good when I pray, when I commune with my holy power, my higher power. It's also holy. But that's, I don't know, 5 minutes a day often. So it's like, is that really all I'm holding on to? But sometimes that's what I need to just get to the next day. Or sometimes for me, I get obsessed with having something to be excited about.
Oh, yeah.
Like, even if it's like, dude, I'm having a horrible week, but I got a basketball game on Wednesday.
Yeah.
Or I got a date on Thursday. Like, she'll probably bail.
Yeah.
That's a bad example.
Whatever, man. Whatever, dude.
But yeah, I love the idea of embracing the suffering and being present through it, right?
Yeah.
And to me, it also helps you avoid resentment.
Yeah.
Like I made a really conscious effort this last breakup I had that was really, really difficult and really painful. But when it was happening, I made a conscious effort to be really present and to feel everything. And part of the reason I like to do that is being a writer, I guess I just like to know what my thoughts are,
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
not numb it.
Yeah. And when I'm really present, I can go back, and when I'm writing about it, it can kind of metabolize and become something that I understand and not just pain. Not
Just
just
what it is.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be.
Yeah. And so
Edgar Allan Bro.
but it makes it so like I could probably tell you almost verbatim like breakup conversations I've had that were like full of tears and really, really difficult, but I wasn't trying to escape the moment. I was like, this is horrible, but I want to be here.
Be in it.
Because I also want to know if I lost something, how important was it to me?
Yeah. There's I had, maybe this is a quote I read somewhere and it just came back to me, but it's funny, like I really learned through the physical, for whatever reason. But I was frustrated by something. It was like a year ago and I was just walking, and it's been like, I don't know, it's been a lot of like, almost like demons that have been uncovered that I didn't realize that I had, that I've then had to get rid of.
Yeah.
It's been like when people like talk about how God will like harrow your soul, to like get it ready to plant seeds. Like it's been a lot of that.
Yeah.
Like last few years. And it's kind of like things are kind of more coming to fruition this year, and I think the next year. But anyway, one of those times I was just kind of like broken down about something, like all the things I was doing, like nothing was quite working. And when you're in the middle of building something, or you're in like the grind, and it's like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
What's the point? Not in like any kind of suicidal way. It's just like, is there really a point to...
A little nihilistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, is there?
Yeah.
It's like, am I just going to be doing this same thing forever? I was like, you give me this. I fixed it. And then you give me this.
Right.
I fixed that. And then you give me this. I fixed that.
Yeah.
It's like, at what point can I just have like a win?
Yeah. At what point can I just have smooth, stress-free nirvana bliss forever?
Yeah. And then I had this like really profound thought, where God was like, maybe the suffering is the gift. And it actually like brought me to tears, because like in that moment took me back like 3, 4, 5 years, and it was like, look at these gifts I gave you.
Yeah.
And the things that I helped you overcome. And like, look at the experiences that you have and the things you understand. Like how much your heart has changed. Like look at who you have been able to become because of the things that I allowed you to go through and helped you through.
Yeah.
And that transitions into like this idea. It's like maybe the suffering is the gift, is your gift to the world that no one else could give.
Yeah.
That I needed you. I needed you to figure it out. I needed you to feel it. Because there are, I don't know, hundreds, thousands people that need what you could give.
Yeah.
Because of what I gave you. Like, stop being angry at me.
Yeah.
For the gift that I gave you.
Right.
That was really humbling.
Yeah.
So I think about that a lot, and I'm not always good at acknowledging it, but I do always come back to it.
Yeah. I just finished this book, Love in the Time of Cholera. Have you ever read that? It's just this novel, but it's a lot about heartbreak, and there's this like teenage kid that just gets his heart just decimated by a woman, and it's like, okay, relatable. But in the book, he's like crying to his mom and telling her like, you know, I don't know how I'll ever be okay, and like the pain is too much to bear, and blah blah blah, and she goes, you should be so grateful for this suffering right now. You should be so grateful because a lot of people will never suffer like this, and you should take advantage of your suffering, she said. And I thought that's such a good point.
We run from it.
Yeah.
And not only do we run from it, we're taught to run from it.
Yeah.
It's like your knee hurts, take a Tylenol.
Yeah.
Like you feel depressed, take an SSRI. And sure, like there are times where it's like, obviously if someone's like suicidal, sure. You
take
know,
a
whatever.
Tylenol.
Yeah. But it's always this like, no, you're perfect the way you are. You don't have anything to change.
Yeah.
It's like, you want to say that you're enough in this moment? Sure. Perfect? No.
Yeah.
Lean into that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you've seen Fight Club.
Yeah.
It's funny. We had so I've only read the book. But one of my buddies, do you know Gabe? I think you know Gabe.
Yeah.
So Gabe introduced me to the book. I read the book. That twist was wild, bro. Did not see it coming.
Yeah. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. I don't even tell him, man. I won't even tell him. I don't have to. But side note, I told one of my buddies we were like quoting it because it's so profound.
Yeah.
To me. It's messed up, but it's profound. Right. And we were quoting it to one of my buddies. We were like, bro, you've got to watch Fight Club.
Yeah.
And so he watches it with some girl that's into him. He doesn't know what it is going into it.
Yeah.
And she like wakes up when like buildings are being set on fire.
Yeah,
he's like, what is this, dude? He talks to us the next day and he's like, what did you guys recommend to me? Like, Fight Club, bro. He's like, it was awful. I was like, it was awful. He's like, yeah, I watched it with this girl. I was like, why'd you watch it with the girl, dude?
Yeah,
like, anyway, it was a whole thing. But there's the scene in there where he's burning his hand.
Yeah.
You know? And he's like, I'm going to go to my safe place. Like, I'm going to go to my happy place. He's like, no, don't do like all those dead people. This is your pain.
Yeah.
This is your pain. This is your moment. Feel it. This is your pain. Like, this is your burning hand. And it's like, obviously a little psycho what he's doing.
Right.
But it's like, oh, that hits so hard. It's like, no. Like, and like, if anyone hasn't seen Fight Club, you said you've seen it. It's like the main character, he's basically really sad. He works like a 9 to 5, and he goes to these basically meetups with people that are dying, like of cancer or of brain parasites. One of them is, and he just like cries with them because he's like, that's the only place that I feel anything. And the rest of the time, he just kind of like hides away from like everything that he's thinking and feeling and all this stuff. And he gets into the scene with this guy, and he pours acid on his hand, which is crazy. And he's like, whoa, he's freaking out. And he starts going to a safe place. And that's when he's like, no, this is your pain.
Yeah.
This is your pain. And I don't know, dude. Like, I'm almost to the point now. I'm really not masochistic. I enjoy being happy and comfortable.
Yeah.
This nice temperature controlled room.
Yeah. Besides the cold plunge, you don't seek a ton of pain.
No, unless I know that it's going to make me better. I will seek pain that will make me better. Yeah. But something about that, the idea of like, this is your pain. Mm-hmm. This moment, whether it's pain or suffering or joy or sadness, like this is your moment. Yeah. The past is gone. The future doesn't exist. This is it. Like this, and this moment will always be the only moment you ever had. Mm-hmm. You know? And that just is really profound to me because we'll run out of moments. Yeah. Here, at least. Yeah. Eventually.
Yeah. The crazy thing about, I completely lost my thought. But what I saw a little bit on your Instagram page talking about journaling. Tell me a little bit about what got you into that. I'm obviously, maybe not obvious to everyone, but I'm a huge journaler. Like, started writing in journals when I was like in first grade. Oh. And I just got obsessed with it, And it's funny because I journal for different reasons now, but it all probably stems from similar things. When I was younger, I was just really intrigued with documenting my life and probably didn't realize how cathartic it was. I was just like,
caveman. Yeah. It works.
Yeah. I'm just writing about recess and
recess was nice.
Yeah. Recess was really
I won
nice.
all of the games.
Yeah. And, but yeah. And then, as I became more interested in writing and literature and being poetic and articulating myself well and all this stuff, it took on another life. But now I love it so much because I feel like it helps me be present because I want to remember things because I want to write about them later. And it helps me make a little bit better sense of the chaos in my head.
Yeah. You can articulate it, put words to it.
Yeah, yeah. Because it's funny how sometimes I'm writing something down and I'm like, that's how I feel. Yeah. That's how I actually feel. Like, my first book I wrote is like a funny memoir about like all my dating experiences up till that point, right? And
raucous.
Yeah, just a bunch of decadence. But I remember writing it feeling like almost as I was writing, I was unlocking memories. Yeah. Which is it sounds weird and mystical, but it just happens. I don't super understand the alchemy that happens there. No. But
it does happen.
Yeah, yeah. But tell me about your experience with it.
So I was not as prolific of a journaler.
Yeah, yeah.
It really started in 2019. I was like a trip leader counselor for a youth humanitarian group, HFY, HXP, to Thailand for a month. And they encouraged them to write in their journals. And I'm just a proponent of like, I don't tell people to do things unless I'm willing to do them.
Okay, yeah.
So I started journaling and I was like, I'll do it at least while I'm here. Mm-hmm. And then I had these crazy breakthroughs. And I was like, oh, yeah, God touched my life that way today. Yeah. And like, oh, wow. Like, I totally like had this thought that helped them. Like like I was making all these connections of how God was like touching my life and using me to touch people's lives around me. And then the same thing, being able to articulate my thoughts better. And this is when I was just barely starting to like be truly honest with myself about maybe where I had an inherent leg down, which I think has always been kind of like dating relationships. Yeah. And starting to get into that. And so I went there and I just kind of had this day where I was like, I'm going to always do this. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to always write every day. Yeah. And honestly, a lot of the times nowadays, it's like, all right, just a few sentences. Like I don't write a crazy amount now. What I will do periodically, I do write every night, but other than that, periodically, I will write just to put words to my thoughts. Because I've always been an avid reader. And so like, I don't know if you're this way or if a lot of it actually, I was only recently I realized like not everyone is this way, but when I'm talking, when I'm reading, when I'm writing, I see the words in my head. If I say supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, like I'm seeing the letters go through my head.
Yeah.
And so when I can put words to my thoughts, it allows me to almost like formulate. It allows me to like formulate them and understand them better. And so that's been honestly huge, like times where I'm like stuck.
Yeah.
Like I mentally, emotionally, spiritually, I'm just like stuck. I'll just like drive somewhere and just write in a journal.
Yeah.
Just keep writing until it's like, oh. Like that big realization I had where I was like, oh, I actually don't believe I'm worthy of them.
Yeah.
Like that was from like a walk and a journaling session. And
it's almost easier to admit to yourself as you're writing it down. It just feels like an exercise or something.
Yeah.
But
yeah. And then the other thing that I did recently that honestly was amazing was, and it was right before I really understood, like we were talking about this brand that I've started to build, like the Big Bro Baker, you know, like being the older brother to the guys that are struggling.
Yeah.
And I had like 500 followers for like 2.5 years. I was doing nothing, like posting cliche nutrition content that would make me mega cringe now. But I took a break for like a month and a half, and I was like, I'm gonna write out my life story. And I wrote everything.
Yeah.
From like as early as I could remember, like broke it into chapters up until 2023. And it was pretty crazy where I was like, oh, like childhood was different there. Oh, this, like my grandma, like these years were actually pretty like formative. Like these things did this to me. I realized like where my pivot points had been. Like I realized like it was like there was that moment in the Philippines when I was on my mission, and then like another later on when like my voice broke, and then another later on. It was more like emotionally, spiritually, where I was like, I gotta accept these demons and then learn to fight them, you know?
Yeah.
But I came to those understandings from writing that. It was like 70 pages or something.
Yeah.
Took me a couple 2-3 weeks. And then after that, it was so much clearer. I was like, oh, this is how I can help the world. Like, this is it.
Yeah.
Music's cool, and I'm going to keep doing that. But, like, this is how I can spread the most light. I don't think I would have come to that without spending the time to, like, really just dig in, write about it.
That's cool. I kind of feel the same way about my podcast versus my writing, where, like, I'm going to keep writing. I love it. And I think it's funny. I think it's one of the things I'm the best at, but I do think podcasting and spreading truth and light and whatever I have to share, my experiences, is maybe more so what I'm here for. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the same way for you. I've had almost some like mourning of, like, I grew up my whole life, most of my life. Actually, when I was really young, funny enough, I wanted to be a doctor, which is hysterical.
Yeah.
My mom still jokes to me about it.
Now you're the anti-doctor.
Yeah, yeah. But I got real deep into health. You know, I spend most of my hours like rabbit holing down like human metabolism. You know, it's stupid. It's not. It's fascinating. But I spent like my whole life, like middle school, high school, college, like 4 years, like I'm gonna be a musician. I'm good at it. I'm very good.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, I guess what I didn't mention earlier is like when I breezed over it and talking about the health, but it's like my voice is probably now probably a good 20-30% better than it was before it broke.
Oh, cool.
Like the things I can do vocally now are a lot more than I could do then, but I feel called in another direction. And it's not just like I'm being forced to, I want to.
Right.
But it's this understanding that I can't, I don't think I can do both.
Yeah.
100%.
Right.
I don't think I can fully give of myself to both of them.
Yeah.
And it kind of stings to accept that. Like I'll still play music and I'll still release music, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's actually been something that I've been sitting on. I don't know if it's similar for you. That's something I've been like sitting on recently, that I just kind of had this realization that it's like, I think you do have to give things up.
Yeah.
In order to do everything you can to bring as much light as you can to the world.
Yeah. I think for me, it's tricky because when I'm really like deep into a project and I'm a writing project, like it's really hard and really arduous. But it's like the most fulfilling thing that I can do. It's when I feel the most alive.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of work for a lot of little moments like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, I don't know if I feel the exact same way as you, but I definitely can resonate with that, where like I also feel like writing, oddly enough, brought me to podcasting.
Same, music brought me to health.
And so I can't I can't say anything bad about it, and I can't like bemoan any of the time I spent with it.
Yeah.
But I'm also still in full pursuit of it. But I guess, like you said, like it's kind of hard to fully go into two things.
Yeah. And it might just be a thing, realistically, I think to some degree it's like a thing of seasons.
Yeah. And you never know. Maybe like you're so focused in on this new chapter of your life, and then music pops off randomly when you're not expecting it. Because you are a talented musician. You've put out a lot of music. You make a lot of music. Like,
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
but it is, at least for this chapter of life. I should say that I could never fully give up music, because it's like when like everything's going bad, I will sit in my room by myself and play my guitar for 2 hours, and I will feel better.
Right. Yeah.
Like immediately.
Yeah. Writing's a little weird. I wonder if it's similar with songwriting, but like for me, I always feel better when I write, but it is sometimes like pulling teeth to get me to sit down and do it.
Yeah.
Not because I don't view it like homework, like, oh, this is going to be hard, I don't want to do it, but just sometimes it's emotionally draining and exhausting, and it's like, am I ready to go down that place?
That rabbit hole, I don't know if I'm in it tonight.
It's funny, when I was breaking up, I should say when she was breaking up with me, and we were having this long conversation, she was a big fan of my writing and loved that I was a creative person, and she asked me this question that still kind of haunts me. She was like, and like before we had this conversation, like we kind of ended things when she was out of the country, and then like I waited 2 weeks, and then we had an in-person breakup. So I was in hell for a good period of time. A debate could be made that I'm still in hell, but that's just, we don't need to debate that. But she asked me, like, she goes, have you been writing? Like, and her question was kind of like, she knows that when I'm feeling things the most, that's when I should be writing, but sometimes that's when it's the hardest to write. And
easier to keep it just
yeah, yeah. Just let me be with me and my horrible thoughts. But
yeah.
yeah.
I haven't been writing as much recently. Well, that's not true. I have written, but I haven't finished a song in a while.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that is straight up just time.
Yeah, yeah.
But a part of it is like when I do have the time, I'll sit down and be like, oof, I don't think I'm diving into this right now.
Yeah, yeah.
I write it and I'm like, it's gonna be enough of that.
Yeah, yeah. Totally.
So a lot of it's just playing now. A lot of it's been like cover gigs, which I like, but
it's not as
they are fun.
Yeah, but it doesn't kind of expand your soul like the other stuff.
I realized like the other week where I was like, oh, I don't remember how to play a couple of my songs. So I like went through and was like relearning some of my songs, you know, and I was like, so yeah, I don't know. I don't think I can be divorced from it. Well, I can't be divorced from it for all that long. But I guess the change is the one in the thought that the biggest way I think that I will be able to bring light to the world is through the other stuff that I'm building.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's still a way.
Right.
But I don't think it's the biggest way. And I honestly don't think it was ever really meant to be.
Yeah, yeah.
And because I think I could make the most impact elsewhere, I don't think I would feel good about only ever doing music.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
That's it can be a tough pill to swallow to realize like like maybe this wasn't my destiny. And I thought it was for the first however many years of my life.
Yeah. Well, and the weirder thing is like I'm 28.
Yeah.
Just like probably live another 70 years, bro.
Yeah.
You know, like I'll probably look back and be like, yeah, I always did music. Everyone knows I did music.
Yeah.
I was never famous musician. And like I have friends that like probably will be.
Mm-hmm.
That I was like pursuing music at the same time as them.
Yeah.
And I'll always be friends with them and I'll always be doing music.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll always have music out and I'll do little shows, but I don't think I'm ever going to be like and I don't say this as cope. You know, I really don't.
Yeah.
Because I think that I could be if I pursued it.
Mm-hmm.
I think anyone with talent and skill could.
Yeah.
You know. But anyway, yeah, it is a little bit of a hard pill to swallow sometimes, and it's my choice.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, like I've chosen.
It's harder when it's not your choice. When you just realize you're not good enough at something.
Yeah. Honestly, though, it almost makes it harder knowing that I am good enough.
Yeah, and you're kind of walking away.
I'm choosing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That it stings a bit, but there's still good to be done there. It's not like I'm just giving up music.
Yeah, yeah.
But to some degree, trading that dream for another.
Yeah, it's kind of like walking away from a girl that you are crazy about, but you know it's just not right. That's nasty stuff. Do you have any personal stories you'd like to share with the group?
I do not, dude. I'm just one big mess.
You're just one big mess.
Not really. I'm fine. But
yeah. Oh, dating's tough, man.
It is.
Yeah. What would you say your biggest challenge with it is? You know, we talked a little bit about, you know, self-confidence and, you know, maybe having kind of old thoughts lingering with you, but
yeah, I think it's funny because yeah, like I'm very confident now.
Yeah.
But
there's confident and then there's confident with girls.
Yeah. And I'm fine talking to women.
Yeah.
It's harder if I'm into them. The biggest thing, this is funny, two things. And again, I think these are things that other people intuitively understand. Like I don't get them until I can articulate them. And even then I have to remind myself every day. So one that I realized some time ago was this understanding of the way that I am prone to attaching.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I spent most of my college years, I know people knew me as the guy that was like kind of aloof, like a little cynical, kind of funny.
Yeah.
Like probably decent good looking. There were a few girls that were into it, but they're like, what's this deal? You need a mystery.
Right.
And it's because I was just disconnected. I would intentionally disconnected from people.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't ever understand like why it was. And like as a kid, I was like temper tantrum, emotional kid till I was like 12.
Yeah.
My brother like scarred me because he called me a baby so much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is good for me.
Yeah.
But I was like that kid, and then
Mm-hmm.
I became this like super aloof, and my mom was like, "What happened to you? Like,
Yeah.
where along the line did you die?" Like,
Right.
and I never did. But what happened was like I wasn't conscious of it, but unconsciously I unconsciously I knew that I would hyper attach to people, so I was preemptively detaching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's funny because it's not just there. I'm prone to extremes everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe that's a reflection of this. But going back to the dating, one thing that I've had to realize is I tend to hyper attach.
Yeah.
Like make some so like I'll have like you were joking earlier, like I will unintentionally do that seriously and have to dial myself back. Be like one day, be like, oh, this, yeah,
Yeah.
hyper attached,
Right.
and coming in way too hot,
Yeah.
way too fast,
Yeah.
and I can't help it.
Right. Right.
I've just always been that way,
Yeah.
and so now I'm good at like I can't stop it,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm aware of it, so I can like make it so she doesn't know.
Yeah. You can hide it.
Yeah, and you have to.
Yeah.
You'll spook them right off.
Oh yeah.
So that's a big one.
I've done my spooking
Yeah.
in the past.
I'm
Yeah.
spooking. I'm
Yeah.
all spooky.
Yeah.
And being aware of that, and then also not allowing myself to like. On the other hand, if I feel like a little bit, because it's kind of a game. There's some give and take.
Yeah.
And the what I learned is like I'm either attached or detached, and if I'm attached and I get a feeling that maybe they're gonna like detach, then I'm gonna detach first fast.
Yeah.
So it's like if I get one little sign that she's like,
Yeah.
then I'll just like hard detach, gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's been one thing, is learning to go away from super extremes like that. And this is all taken within the context that I haven't dated very much in like the last year or two,
Yeah.
honestly.
Right.
And then the second thing is, you know what? I forgot what the second thing was. It was a good thing, but I can't remember it.
Your second challenge with dating.
Yeah. What was it? I can't remember. It's fine. The first one's important.
Yeah.
The first one. If I remember, I'll come back to it.
Yeah. You know what? Here's something. I can't remember if we've talked about this, but there's this principle that me and our buddy Spencer talked about that I feel like I didn't really understand till like a couple years ago, which has me nauseated because it's so simple.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of pain I've felt in dating has come from whatever rejection I've experienced.
I remembered the thing. Continue.
Right? But what I've come to realize is so much of this rejection, this sounds really trite, but has absolutely nothing to do with me. And a lot of times when I've heard that sort of sentiment in the past, I'm like, yeah, but ultimately it had a lot to do with me, or they'd be with me, you know? But the truth is, there are 4 stages of availability.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Did we talk about this?
Talked about this.
Yeah. So I'll make it real simple. But there are 4 stages of availability. And the problem is we usually assume someone we're chasing after is in 1. Right. So stage 1 is they are completely unavailable. They're dating someone. They're married. They're in a relationship. They're involved. Stage 2, they're out of said relationship, but they're still kind of hung up on this person. They're still in love. They're still hurting, whatever. Problem is, stage 2, they're often going on dates, They're on dating apps. They're out there. They're trying to move on.
But they're not
But they're difficult to date.
Yeah.
They're very difficult to date. And the problem is you don't go on a first date and say, hey, what stage are you in, by the way? You know, like that would be nice. But, and then you have stage 3 where they're fully over someone. They're available, single, ready to mingle. And then you have stage 4 where they're not in a relationship yet, but they're talking to someone new. They're starting to get interested. They're starting to fall for someone. But again,
pretty close to 1.
Yeah. But again, they're still maybe going on dates. They're still maybe on dating apps. They're still fielding calls, right? But I think as a guy, especially, our assumption is we get a girl's number, we meet someone at a party, we have a good interaction. We're like, oh, she's in stage 3, you know? Rarely, especially if you've got yourself tight perimeters and you have a very certain specific girl you're interested in. She's highly desirable, highly valuable. Like, she's in stage 3 for about 15 minutes.
Yeah, perfect.
You know?
Oh, yeah, dude.
And so I think that has taken a lot of the onus off of me at times, because I've been like, yeah, this girl completely like decimated my world, to put it lightly, but she was never in stage 3. She was, you know, I was dating someone, I was pursuing someone in stage 2, hoping for a miracle. And it's not always, sometimes it's just the timing, right? A lot of times they're in stage 2, but they're almost out, you know? But if they're freshly in stage 2, or they're just, they've dug their heels into stage 2, you're just,
where I am.
Yeah, you're hiking Everest without any oxygen.
It's a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that is, it's good. And honestly, like, I remembered the other thing, but before I say that, I think there's this point where you have to, like, just don't take it so seriously.
Yeah.
Like, I know that's easier said than done, like, once you actually have feelings for someone, but most of the time, it's like, you're talking to someone at a party, like, I don't know, man. Just say some things that you think are funny.
Yeah.
And it's like, maybe if she likes it, then you probably vibe.
Yeah.
If she doesn't, then you won't.
Yeah.
But speaking of that, the thing I realized, and this is it will sound stupid to a lot of people that it's intuitive for, but I could not articulate it actually until recently. So background for it is I, for whatever reason, I'm very good at seeing into people. Like people's facades, passive aggression, looking in people's eyes. It's like pretty quickly I can be like, there's light in your eyes. There's sadness in your eyes. There's darkness in your eyes.
There's murkiness.
Yeah, like I could look at a guy and be like, he's got porn eyes. You know, like,
really?
Yeah, like girls,
because you can see it reflected on their screen.
Yeah. Like girls, crazy eyes.
Yeah.
Like I'm 10 out of 10, bro. Like
really?
Like my buddies, like this is an example. I had a buddy that was dating a girl online recently, and he's not on social media, so he won't see this. I mean, I'm not giving you details, but he was like long distance dating her. She was in a different country, and he showed us the picture and was like, she's cute. And I looked at the picture and I said, my God, she's got crazy eyes.
Yeah.
And he like dated her pretty seriously for a while. He went to Australia with his family, and she turned out to be batty.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I'm batting 1,000, man. I'm really sorry for you. I am, but I just cannot lose.
But Big Bro told you.
Yeah, dude. So anyway, that's the context.
Yeah.
For whatever reason,
You're really good at reading people.
Yeah, I'm like the anti-flatterer.
What'd you see in my eyes? Now I need to know.
You kind of have sadness in your eyes.
Damn it.
Like you have light in your eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's some struggle down in there.
Sure, yeah.
There's some pain.
Yeah.
But like so I kind of rely on that like pretty heavily in every interaction I have with people, because kind of lets me know like,
yeah, should I hang around? Should I keep trying?
Yeah. But so anyway, I've relied on that for like dating as well. And so it's like I'll meet someone and I'll take the same approach where it's like, oh, I should know within like 5 minutes, you know? And then I had this realization recently. It's like every girl that I've ever had really strong feelings for came after a couple months of knowing them.
Yeah.
And that was like where I was around them regularly and whatever, you know? But it was kind of like a little bit of a blow to my pride where like God was like, maybe you just need to actually get to know them.
Yeah, you thought you had a perfect system.
You did.
Yeah.
Idiot.
Yeah.
And that was kind of refreshing though, because it was like, oh no, I can know right off the bat if like by like the way that they feel, their eyes, the way they interact, the way you interact, I can know right off the bat if we have a similar enough vibe that I'm interested. But I don't think I can know if we'll have a deep connection until I give it a chance to create one. And so I realized I'd been operating from this mindset, which maybe was a little bit like of a defense mechanism. I don't know, but I'd been operating from this mindset where it's like, oh no, like she wouldn't, especially like where I am now. Like I mean, I'm not going to throw all my controversial thoughts and opinions here. I have a lot of them.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. and I don't shy away from them.
Yeah.
And so there's a part of it where I'll like talk to someone and it'll be like, we're not going to, part of it I think is reflecting back on me. It's like, she's not going to be into it.
Yeah.
But it's like, but sometimes it's like, I'm intrigued by her. Like she has eyes that are interesting to me or that's interesting to me. But it's like, I'm just like, oh, well, like, no, I know everything I need to know. It's like, no, I don't.
Yeah.
Like, and a lot of times, like the weird stuff, I say that like kinky stuff. That's not what I meant. Like the edgy stuff, especially with women, like they don't share that stuff just in public. Like they share it once they like trust you. Yeah. Like you'll be on a date with them and they'll say something to you and you're like, what?
Yeah.
Wait, I think that too.
Right.
Wow. You actually agree with this? You find out they like everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like, it's like you were saying earlier, you don't just spew this stuff out to the streets.
Right.
So you got to be a normal person.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's been a big realization for me. And that was honestly like really recently I had that realization. And I think that's a big part of the reason that I haven't dated as much, because I'll just like meet people and be like, it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
It's like, if I'm interested enough that she intrigues me, then there's something there
worth pursuing. Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe 2 out of every 10 of those are a girl that I could have like a real deep connection with, which I would only know after we spent time together. After that was allowed to alchemize. Yeah. You know?
Do you have any really trivial things that are deal breakers for you?
What qualifies as trivial?
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. Something that you're like, okay, I know this is probably silly, but I just can't do it. Can't handle it.
Yeah. Yeah, this I'm going to say it anyway. You can cancel it out if you need to. I cannot stand girls with hairy arms.
With hairy arms? Yeah.
Dude, like, cannot do it.
Will you extend a razor to them?
No, because then you feel the
the stuff on
oh, dude, no, I can't do it.
Okay, that's fair.
I can't do it. I don't have hairy arms.
What if you meet this girl, right? And you're super into her, you're intrigued like crazy, but it's winter, bro, and like her arms are covered. And you're hanging out and you don't see the arms revealed till you already like her. Can you get past it?
I'll buy her a waxing set.
Okay. Get them lasered.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, there's an answer. Fine. Yeah.
But the hairy arms, bro.
That's tough for you.
Tough is an understatement.
What about personality-wise? This is where I would argue you should be the pickiest. Even if it is...
Give me some traits, like as an example.
Even if it is trivial, but if it is something that bugs you, you don't want to be around somebody that kind of bugs you for the rest of your life, even if there's all these other amazing qualities, right? I don't know, somebody that maybe just kind of yammers on and talks a lot without making points, or you don't feel like hears you when you're conversing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a million little things.
I do not like virtue signalers.
Yeah.
And when people, men or women, but especially women, when they're so worried about the way that they look in a social situation, that if I'm in that situation with them, they're more afraid of being embarrassed by me because I might say something edgy, which I probably will.
Yeah, that's just your MO.
They're more afraid of me embarrassing them than they are willing to have my back.
Yeah.
That's like immediate. Like one time, if a girl, like I'll talk to them about it. If it happens again, immediately done.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Yeah.
Because it's like, ugh, this was tip of the iceberg, sister.
Right. Yeah. Like, buckle up.
What are you gonna do if I have 500,000 followers?
Yeah.
And I'm getting hate mail.
Right.
Every day.
Yeah, which you will.
I will. I definitely will.
Yeah.
I already do.
Right. Yeah, you're a controversial human.
For better or for worse. Yeah. I spark polarity.
Yeah. But again, this is what I really like about you is I feel like most people that have your mindset about a lot of things and philosophies and have gone down the same rabbit holes you've gone down, for some reason, lean towards the virtue signaling. They lean towards the maniacally woke. They lean towards being on some sort of crusade, and I'm like,
I will not rest until the whole world is vegan.
Yeah.
All right, brother.
Right.
Cool down.
As if veganism is the one and only capital T truth that exists, So yeah, that's what I love about you. I don't care if I disagree with you because you don't really care either.
Yeah. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But most people as opinionated and as researched as you that are entrenched in alternative anything don't tend to have that disposition.
Yeah, it's because I think a lot of us are, like, honestly, I make jokes about, like, all men being autistic, which I believe.
Stand by, yeah.
I do, yeah. There's another half to that, but I don't need to dig into it here. But, like, I very much, like, I've never been medicated and I won't ever, but, like, the way that my personality is like, I super hyper focus. I'm very obsessive, like very ADHD type in the way that I focus on things. Yeah. Like that's just the way that the way that I communicate, the way that I like deal with the world. Yeah. Wait, what were we talking about right before this? This is an example. Yeah. There was a point to me saying this.
I was talking about how it's not your mission to.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I remember what I'm getting into. So I think a lot of the people that to dive as obsessively, because like this is just an example to give context. Like I recently spent a month studying thiamine, vitamin B1.
Yeah, I don't even know what that is.
It's vitamin B1. Mm-hmm. Really useful.
Yeah,
you should take it.
Okay.
I wrote a guide on it. You can download it if you want.
Okay, here's the crusade.
It's really useful. But I spent a month just rabbit holing it. Mm-hmm. Like I'd sit for 3 hours just like studying. It's interesting.
Yeah.
And people that can do that have obsessive personalities.
Right.
Tend to be, I hate to use this term because I feel like it's usually used irritatingly, but neurodivergent, kind of ADHD, like a little obsessively autistic minded. And so they're usually socially inept. And instead of just acknowledging that and like actually building social skills, they're just like, I'm the weird person in the room, and that's why I don't get along with people. It's like, you don't get along with people because you're a douchebag. Like, you know what I mean? Like, people don't like you because, like, you're not very likable.
You're not likable,
So, anyway, I've tried to, and I credit my mom for that a lot, actually, because she
for making you likable.
Kind of.
Yeah.
But one of the things that she always still teaches us, and she embodies it, because like my brother and I are very, very different. Like when I say very different, I'm talking like we are opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
In every way. And one of the things that she always taught us that she embodies is find the loose brick.
Mm-hmm.
And like if you find the right brick, every wall will crumble.
Yeah.
And if I'm being perfectly honest, there are some walls I don't care to see crumble. Mm-hmm. Like there are some people I look in their eyes, they just have bad eyes. I don't want to be around them. Right. I don't want to see their wall crumble. I don't want to see what's behind the wall.
Yeah.
But it's funny, as much as if I'm being totally honest, like I intentionally, sometimes I say things in a way online that I know is a little polarizing.
Yeah.
Because it makes it more likely to get to the ears of the people that I want to hear it.
Right.
But it's funny how aggressively people will come at me. Like, you should see some of the comments I've got.
Right, yeah, I bet.
Crazy, bro.
Yeah.
On stuff like raw milk.
Right.
Like, crazy.
Yeah.
But it's funny, the stuff they'll throw at me. But it's like people in my everyday life, they have no idea.
Yeah.
That I like run this account and that I'm doing this stuff and that I'm like have spent hundreds, maybe thousands of hours at this point studying this stuff. You know what I mean? They have no idea. I'm just kind of like the guy that wears red glasses and sometimes has a red light and it's kind of mysterious, but like maybe a little funny sometimes.
Maybe a little, yeah.
Yeah.
Not like too much, but yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
That's funny.
Try to have fun.
What's with all this self-work you do and this attention to detail, what is the thing you love or appreciate the most about yourself, about your not accomplishment based, but just about who you are as a person, as a man?
I think I am, it's two-pronged, but I am just obsessively obstinate.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just will not stop.
Yeah.
I'm naturally good at almost nothing. Honestly. Like,
yeah.
Music is the exception.
Okay, yeah.
And then that was taken from me.
Right.
That was like the one thing that I'd always been good at. Even reading, like I sucked at reading as a kid.
Yeah.
I just read 4 books a day for 10 years because I was alone all the time.
Yeah.
So I got good at it.
Right.
Everything else, like physically, like 2-3 years ago, like my knees were so bad I couldn't walk downstairs normally. Yeah. And like my feet are like all like weird looking. They're healthy now, but they used to be messed up. And like my elbows got messed up from the guitar. Like my shoulders got like I don't say this self-pitying, but it's just like I'm not naturally good at very much of anything.
Yeah.
But I'm just like the guy that just like won't quit.
Right.
So it's like all my friends that started lifting at the same time as me or started online or like started learning stuff, started getting into health or even music. It's just like I got better than all of them.
Yeah, because you're more tenacious.
I just wouldn't quit. Yeah. I just like, I'm going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to be obsessive and I'm just going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
So I think that's God's gift to me.
Yeah.
Among other things, but I think that's probably the biggest.
Yeah. What's the second prong?
Oh, the 2 prongs were the stubbornness.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It's like obsessing over things, which as a side note, people get it like, will demonize obsession. Like, oh, you shouldn't be obsessing over things. It's like, no, definitely be obsessing over things.
Right.
You don't think Einstein obsessed?
Yeah.
You don't think Mozart or Bach or Edgar Allan Poe or Tolkien? Tolkien spent, 15 years writing a total of like under 1,000 pages? You don't think they were obsessed? They were obsessed every second of their lives.
Yeah.
Obsession is what makes things go around.
Yeah.
It's a gift.
Right.
But anyway, obsession, and then the other side is obstinate. Just they both have been hindrances to me in the past too. Yeah. Like I've had to learn how to temper them, but
obsession is a double-edged sword because if you have that propensity to obsess, you'll also get obsessed with your vices, and you'll take those to the ends of the earth as well.
Like Takis.
Yeah, like Takis. Yeah.
Flamin' Hot Cheetos.
Right, yeah. It's apparently a problem for you. Yeah.
I'm not Cheetos. I don't like them anymore. But Takis, oh,
Yeah.
I wish I hated them, Taylor.
Yeah.
I do.
Okay, dude. It's funny. I would say we're, I don't know, pretty good friends. We have great potential for
Yeah.
more. But, but
It's like what I was talking about with dating. It's like, oh, like I know we vibe, but like,
yeah. But, it's funny. As close as we are, I just barely, like, you razzed me about it that I found your alter ego,
yeah,
but I
yeah.
just barely
I
kind
know.
of stumbled upon, because I just followed your music stuff
Yeah.
and didn't know you were doing well on social media with other stuff. I knew you had those interests, but with all those things, I know you're obsessed with circadian rhythms. I know you're obsessed with cold plunging. I know you're obsessed with raw milk. I know you're obsessed with grounding. I know you're obsessed with um, lighting. You know, if you had like one thing that you could tell people as a proponent of health, as a proponent of moving forward in your life, what is the one thing that you'd say, okay, I know I want to share all this crap with you, but if I can only give you one, this is what I'm going to give you.
One single thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like one action item, or it can be a principle.
You can give me two.
I would say,
I mean, more specifically, like of these,
go outside more,
go outside more.
as much as possible.
Yeah. Is that more what the sun does for you?
It's a lot. Yeah, it's what the sun does. It's what ground does.
Mm-hmm.
Positively, physically, mentally, spiritually.
Help me understand grounding a little bit, because I've heard enough. And to me, it sounds really psychosomatic.
Yeah.
But also, if it is, I'm fine with that if it works.
Yeah.
If it's just a placebo effect, great. I don't care. But to me, I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around just like putting my feet in grass and that doing much for me.
Yeah.
But I would love to
It's
hear.
like bathing in the river.
Yeah.
In the Bible.
But I haven't gone down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And I would be open to trying it. I just haven't cared enough.
The simplest, so it's kind of like 3 parts. So explain simply, excuse me, the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, as everyone says.
I've never said that, but yeah.
Well, your 5th grade biology teacher said it, all right? Every time I bring up mitochondria, someone will be like, it's the powerhouse of the cell, man. Thank you.
Yeah, I was better at English and history.
Yeah. Same.
No.
I ignored biology, ironically.
Yeah.
Because then I had to learn all of it myself later. They taught some nonsense anyway. So mitochondria is powerhouse of this. It's where you make all the energy in the body, right? The way that it creates energy is through the electron transport chain, right? So it's basically electrons moving to create ATP, but also the electrons themselves are what power. It's like, if you think of it as like an energy, like a factory, like a what's the word that the Ford built?
A conveyor belt.
Yeah. You think of it like that, where it's like it's conveying energy, right? That's what the mitochondria does. So normally it's thought that like you get that from food, right? Food is broken down. Fats and carbs generally broken down into sugar. That's broken down. The reason it's useful is because of the electrons. It's all broken down into electrons, which is just currency of energy, right? That then goes onto the conveyor belt and it can be used in the mitochondria. Well, the Earth has, and this is verifiable, it has been verified very easily, it has a current of energy, of a negative charge. It's like a bank of electrons, of negative charge. And this is from its movement. It's from lightning striking it and staying in it. It's from like the friction of things moving on.
It has electricity, essentially.
Yeah. Has a negative charge. And so one thing it actually does is it has a charge that's constantly moving around the Earth. So a part of the benefit is it actually helps set your internal clock.
Okay.
Because it moves in a 24-hour. wave. But the other part is that I think maybe everyone doesn't realize this, but they should, which is that we are electric, like we're conductive.
Yeah.
Which is why if like you have static electricity and you touch someone else, it shocks.
Yeah.
Because we're conductive. We're very conductive.
Yeah.
And that also can be measured, right? You can measure someone's conductiveness. And so every time, not just your feet, but every time you put your body connected to the earth, you're opening the circuit, so to speak, and the electrons flow into you. And
does that help balance you?
So one, it provides it's really kind of threefold what it does. So one is it directly powers, like provides energy for your mitochondria in the same way that food does.
Yeah.
And then the other one is it acts as an antioxidant. So like when we think of like blueberries as an antioxidant, the reason they work as an antioxidant, so like antioxidant, if something is oxidized, it's lacking an electron. And so the reason things like berries and herbs and things like that are antioxidant is because they have an electron to donate, right? And so the irony in it is people think of like these foods and these teas and stuff as antioxidants, which they are useful for. But grounding is 1,000 times as powerful because it's just this flow of electrons that's antioxidant. Antioxidant means less damage to mitochondria, less damage to cells, which means better hormones, better heart health, better liver health, gut health, which translates to mood, energy, sleep, quality of life, everything. So that's one thing. It's like directly antioxidant. The other thing is that it directly provides energy for the mitochondria.
Yeah.
And mitochondria are really sensitive, by the way, to oxidative stress, which is oxidants, the opposite of antioxidants. And so it helps protect your mitochondria. And then the other part of it is that, and this is kind of getting more into the weeds, but that every part of your body is charged. So for example, like your red blood cells have something called the zeta potential, which is basically, if you put two batteries together, the negative ends together, they repel. And red blood cells are made to do the same thing. And when you don't have enough negative charge, your red blood cells are more likely to clump. And when you have more negative charge, which you get mostly from the environment, and you lose from environments like this, and foods and inflammation, that kind of thing, they don't flow as well, right? Because they're not repelling against each other and against the walls of your arteries. So it also helps blood flow. And then you can also store electrons in different parts of your body, in water around your cells, that can then later be used in your mitochondria and as antioxidants, which then like have all the benefits we were talking about. So it's the funny thing about it is, obviously, for one, it's like we were created to be connected to the earth. It's only very recently we've been disconnected. But the other part, recently, like, it's been very well studied. And it's actually pretty easy to measure. Like, you can get like a voltimeter, whatever, the thing that measures voltage, and you can hold it and then step on and off grass, especially if it's wet. That's why the ocean feels so good. Wet and minerals make for better conduction because water is a good conductor, and you can see the voltage change.
Oh, cool. Wow.
Yeah.
So is it good practice? Like, do you feel like it's helpful to just like go freaking lay in the grass?
Yeah.
Is that what you do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have like a 10 by 15 in front of my townhome.
You just kind of sprawl out like a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I eat out there, especially if it's sunny.
Yeah.
And then I also just like, as long as I can do something where I am able to work out there, if I'm reading or studying, I'll just pretty much always do it outside.
Yeah.
If I can.
And take your shoes off or whatever. Nice.
Usually shorts and no shirt.
Yeah. Good.
Absorbing the rays,
I mean, you're going to the gym for some reason.
Well, dude, I don't like, I am half Danish and English, which is nice, but I'm also half, I actually don't know where that side's from, but probably somewhere in Africa.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, I'm darker skinned.
Yeah.
Which means I need a lot more sun to get the same amount of benefit.
Yeah.
So I consider it medicine. Because
Yeah.
I get to about January and I start struggling.
Yeah.
I don't feel as good.
Yeah, January is a bad month.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough noogies.
Okay, just a couple more questions and we'll wrap up. What is something that you hope, like, you had such a cool sort of transformation, like you have kind of old Terrell, right? Fat, lazy,
Yeah.
undisciplined,
Yeah.
um, probably not very self-honest.
Yeah. Not at all.
You came a really long way. What do you hope, like, what do you hope, like, Terrell from 10 years in the future could, like, come and tell you now? Like, what do you hope the next 10 years brings you?
I think the same vision that I had kind of hoped of myself of becoming strong, healthy, disciplined, capable, confident, um, which are some of the things that I've become now. I think in that same vein is a similar thing that I want to see in myself in having a family and a successful business slash movement
Yeah.
that I'm kind of leading. Um, and so I think it would be, I imagine in 10 years what I would come back and tell myself is to hold on to the vision,
Yeah, yeah.
um, of like the woman of my dreams, of the family of my dreams, um, of not just like being like some health coach, but of
Mm-hmm.
being able to use my story and the vision to like change the lives of millions of boys and
Yeah.
men. That's really the vision.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I think hold on to the vision.
Yeah, cool. Where does, and you've brought it up a decent amount, but where does your faith lie kind of in all of this? How important is your faith, your relationship with God connected to all these things?
Um, I think it's all of it.
Yeah.
I know that's trite,
Yeah.
but it's I mean, to be frank, like I have no right to be who I am today. Like to be free from any addictions, whether it be like food or porn, or to care as much about people as I do, to have like the skills that I have, to have been able to overcome things, um, to be able to have seen my own potential.
Mm-hmm.
I just, it's really trite, but I don't deserve any of it,
Yeah.
And as much as talk about how I'm obsessive and obstinate, which is true,
Mm-hmm.
like I won't stop until I get it.
Yeah.
The reality is that it's like I wouldn't have got it without the vision that God helped me to see.
Yeah.
And this was actually like what made me lean into this idea of like saving the boys. I had this just moment where I like drove out. It was not a good day. And so I just like drove out on the west side of Utah Lake like 30 minutes
Mm-hmm.
and just sat out there on a farm. Just kind of broke down. I just had my journal. I was just writing. Um, and I just had this realization that it was like I need to live the kind of life that when I die I know it wasn't a waste.
Yeah.
Um, and I had this thought where God was like helping me to see this vision. Like he helped me see all these things, and he's like, I gave them to you so that you could help save the boys
Yeah. Yeah.
that didn't have what you had. Like me, my brother struggled more than me. With a variety of things, which was hard for all of us. But even him, like we had aunts and uncles and a mom and church leaders that were always there for us.
Yeah.
And there are millions of boys that don't have that.
Yeah.
guys, young guys, you know, and they're lost.
Yeah.
And God helped me see that. And he was like, this can be your legacy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like this can be what will make it so that you know that like your life wasn't a waste. But then after that, there was this like really profound moment that really kind of made me break down, where it was like, I was like, but even if you never did all of that and you were just the Terrell that you are now, doing your best to love the people around you, your life wouldn't have been a waste to me.
Yeah, yeah.
And so anyway, yeah, that's like, I think that's like all of it. Like I pray every day, every morning and every night. I pray to be able to love the people around me.
Yeah.
And see them like God sees them, because I think I don't know what else the point is.
Yeah, yeah. That's beautiful, bro. Like, it's so hard to have that perspective, I think, and it's helpful when you have really intense spiritual, you know, awakenings like that. But yeah, it's so hard when you're going through stuff to have a bigger vision and be like, yeah, really like, besides helping people and making the world I live in better, like, what's the point? Is the point to just like have a bunch of money and then like buy all the talkies I can? Or
It's definitely about the talkies. It's always been about the talkies.
Yeah, yeah. You know, and because people are obsessed with like saying like, I just want to be happy, you know, I want to be happy. But it's like, what does that even mean? What does that look like? And yeah, it's beautiful when you can find your purpose and realize like, this is how I can make the world a little bit better and how I can leave my mark. So what's your general advice for a young guy that's struggling, a young guy that's depressed, feeling unmotivated, feeling like, dude, what's the point of me going to the gym? Like, I got no girls, I got no job, I'm playing video games 8 hours a day, I'm eating Cheetos, I'm struggling. Like, yeah, you have a lot of great advice, but that's overwhelming. It's a lot of stuff. Where do I start? Like, what's your advice to them?
I think first, because this is how it started for me, I would say ask God to help you see who you can become. And in the absence of that, or if answers aren't forthcoming, be around people that help you see your potential.
Yeah.
It's like this group I have is called Potential Maxers for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second part of that is be honest with yourself. Stop lying to yourself about what you're not doing.
Yeah.
And what you have control of. And the reality is you have control of the thing you most immediately control is your health.
Yeah.
And that's where I think it starts in you not lying to yourself, connecting to God, because he'll help you not lie to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then getting your health in order, because that's what's going to enable you, I think, mentally, spiritually, and emotionally to connect elsewhere. And if you don't know where to start there, then honestly, just start by doing something.
Yeah.
Like if I looked at myself going to the gym 10 years ago, I was like, idiot, bro.
Yeah, just walking around.
Especially now, because I'm like, I'm not huge.
Yeah.
But I'm far from the smallest guy at the gym now.
Right,
I'm
right.
definitely not the least experienced, you know?
Yeah.
And just send it and ask for help.
Yeah.
It's like, go outside more. Try to lift. Try to eat more real food.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And like, pray to God.
Yeah.
And I think just make the commitment that you're not going to stop trying.
Yeah.
Until you figure it out.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the only answer, you know? And along the way, like what I've realized is God has pretty much never given me solutions to my problems.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes he's given me clarity.
Yeah.
Inspiration, no solutions. Even right now, like but what he has given me and what I've learned to pray for is to be led to the knowledge and the resources and the people that will help me learn what I need to learn and become what I need to become.
Yeah.
To get what I want.
Yeah.
Where I want. So I think I would say the same.
That's awesome, man. Okay, last question. If we could reverse roles and you're the podcaster, you got one question for me. What do you got for me?
Oh, okay. Let me think about it.
And it could be 2 or 3 pronged if you want to get into something, or if you have a couple curiosities.
What experience taught you the most about suffering?
Let's see. I think the fact that nothing immediately comes to mind is probably proof that it's sort of an amalgamation of a handful of things, probably. And I think age and time were able to show those, to me, where when I was younger, I just thought I was suffering, and didn't really see the lesson in it and didn't see the growth in it necessarily. I think a lot of my suffering has come from heartache, but also from, I'm not talking about specific breakups or rejection. I'm talking about sort of a perpetual feeling of failure or feeling of a perpetual state of loneliness because this relationship doesn't work out, and then this one doesn't, and then this one doesn't. And that, like we were talking about earlier, you start to spiral and you start to think, well, okay, what does that mean for my future? Like, am I ever going to have a family? Am I ever going to get out of this cycle? And so that's caused me a lot of pain and suffering over the years. But now, as I've matured a little bit, and I emphasize a little,
just a little.
Yeah, I don't want to.
You still play spike ball.
That's right. But I think all that suffering has made me deeply empathetic and deeply patient with human beings. And I think I can look at pain at any point in my life, whether it's losing a grandparent, losing a friend to suicide, like some really heavy chapters of my life. And in the moment, it doesn't feel like there's any good in that, but now, like, I've talked to parents that like I talked to this lady. I knew her husband, we're friends, not super close, but I found out her son's best friend committed suicide. And I was able to have a really cool conversation with her about a conversation she could hopefully have with her son, because I've had friends that have taken their lives. And I love talking to people that are going through heartache, because I'm like, come talk to daddy. Like, like I've been there, and it's horrible, and you feel like you feel silly and embarrassed often, I think, when you're heartbroken, because you're like, it's almost like public knowledge that you weren't good enough for somebody. Even if that's not true.
And admitting like how much it actually hurts.
Yeah, because especially as a man, I think you feel like, well, it shouldn't hurt this much.
It's like it's killing me inside.
Yeah.
I'm dying.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But but yeah, it's hard to come to terms with those sorts of things. But yeah, I think a long answer short is all these things I've gone through that have been full of pain and suffering, and again, to be clear, I've had a pretty wonderful life compared to the the vast majority of humanity, probably. Been really blessed, but yeah, it has just made me someone that feels deeper, connects deeper, loves deeper, I think. Um, so yeah.
I have a follow-up question.
Yeah.
So I mentioned earlier, and I've always thought this about you, where I can see that you have there's scars behind your eyes.
Okay. In my corneas.
I don't say that in a bad way.
Yeah.
Um, but I can, like, for whatever reason, you have a presence about you that can tell that you have experienced pain of whatever various sorts.
Mm-hmm.
Things that have harrowed your soul.
Yeah.
Which I think we've talked about. What has allowed you, because most people that experience those things turn to bitterness,
Mm-hmm.
and the harrowing is filled with darkness
Yeah.
instead of light, which
Yeah.
you are not. So what do you think has allowed you to um, fill it with light and hope instead of dark and bitterness?
I don't know. I guess I never really went too far down the road of bitterness, um, and resentment. And I think, if anything, if there was, I think maybe that's why you can see some lingering sadness, is because I'm pretty bereft of anger or resentment or a lot of the other rotten emotions, and I think that's what's left,
Yeah.
I don't know why, honestly. I think it's a gift from God, I think maybe your gift of being obstinate and being deeply unaffected by bumps in the road, I think maybe my gift has been I can be sad forever and still be okay, and still find a lot of joy in life, because and I'm lucky, like, yeah, maybe there's some sadness kind of beneath the veneer that maybe only certain people can see or sense, but I've never struggled with like dark depression. I've never not been able to get out of bed in the morning. I've never, wanted to self harm. I've never, gone down those dark roads. And I know a lot of people close to me that have.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the difference is there, and I feel blessed. And I think part of the reason, I would say there's two main reasons. And this is just my theory, but I think the first thing is there's so many things in life that I enjoy, right? I love sports. I love movies. I love books. I love traveling. I love being outside. I love fashion. I love dating, even though I hate it.
You love women.
I love women. That's a part 2 of the episode. I love, there's a lot of things I like. I haven't really gone down the rabbit hole, but are still intriguing to me and interesting to me. And so I feel like I'm pretty impervious to boredom. And so when I'm going through something, like, yeah, maybe I don't feel like writing, but I can go work out. I can go play basketball.
Go for a hike.
Yeah, I can read a book. Sometimes my head's spinning so much I feel like I can't read. I'll go watch a show. I love shows. I love movies. I love music. And I love music so much, even though I have no acuity, no gifts there. I love music. I love making playlists. When I was younger, I loved pirating and burning CDs.
There's feds watching this.
The statute of limitations. But yeah, there's so many things that bring me joy. I feel like it's hard to keep me down, you know? And the second part is, again, I view this as just a blessing that I have no business even having, but I just feel like I've always been surrounded by amazing, deeply loving people. And friendship has come easy to me and has come in abundance. And I don't know how much credit I can take for that. I feel like I moved around a lot as a kid. I think I got used to making friends. Saw what worked, saw what didn't. But yeah, I feel like I have too many close friends to stay down as well.
Yeah.
Like I can be going through something really hard, but I still want to go like get dinner with some friends.
And then they'll brighten your mood.
Yeah, they always do. And for me, I'm pretty darn extroverted, so that helps too, But so yeah, it's not even if I'm really going through something, I don't want to just be alone. Like if I'm going through something and I'm having the worst day I've had in years and a buddy calls me and wants to go get something to eat, I'll be like,
please.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't self-isolate. And so I think, I don't know how much of that's such a good question. I don't know how much of that is me just like being resilient and tough, or how much of it is just
gift from God.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm
probably
sure
some blend of both.
Yeah.
It's probably, I think, and I maybe this applies to everyone, it's God offering the gift and you choosing to accept it.
Yeah. That's a really.
Because I think that would reflect into my life too.
Yeah. And I think, you can't get, I think that's true, but I also think like there's some gifts that God, you're not getting.
Yeah.
I'm
not 6'3", Taylor. I've tried and I've tried.
Yeah. And listen, I've tried to make these guys bigger than they are, and to be fair, they are a little bit bigger than they were. But yeah, especially growing up, I was really insecure about just being scrawny and skinny little guy.
I look at mine when they grow. It's
great. Yeah. But yeah, we all have such different gifts, and but sometimes it's frustrating because you're like, yeah, if God offered me that one, I promise I would take it.
Take it.
Yeah.
That would be really cool.
Yeah, it'd be super awesome. But yeah, we get what we get.
And I only sometimes throw a fit.
Yeah, I'll throw a silent little emotional fit.
It'll be fine.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, thanks for that question. That was really cool to think about. Well, sweet, man. Why don't you plug yourself? What's the best way people can get a hold of your content and see what you're pursuing and what you're trying to spread?
Yeah, dude. If you want some a little taste of the schizo holistic health content, my biggest platform is on Instagram, and that's where I share a lot. And it's basically the brand is Big Bro Baker.
And we'll link all the stuff in the show notes, but
and the reason it's that is because the mission is really to help millions of men and boys get unstuck and take sovereignty over their life through creating health in the way that I did that will allow them to realize their potential and their mission in life. And so, like on the page, there's a lot of memes and jokes and stuff, but underneath it all, that's the mission. And so I'm building a community. I'm always releasing guides, courses. I'm always sharing info there. And then the long term is honestly probably having one for sure is having retreats, like longer retreats, and maybe even longer term, starting to have some facilities where I can have people come either as like not outpatient, but either they're living there for a couple months and it's a program, or they're they're coming in and we're regularly working with people, and having that provided for guys that are in the position that I am or worse that didn't have what I had. So that's the mission.
Cool, man.
Using health as the vehicle to change as many lives, help as many guys reach their potential as I can.
Awesome. What if people are curious and want to hear your music?
Terrell Thomas music. As soon as I get the community, get the business up and off the ground, and I don't have to work a full-time job anymore.
Yeah.
Then I'll dedicate more time to. I've got like 20 songs I got to release.
Yeah. Cool.
So that'll probably be within the next year or two.
Awesome. Do you have any? Who are some of your? I know you're doing a pretty unique thing in your niche, but do you have some contemporaries that you look up to and love their stuff that would be a good analog for you?
Yes. So the one that originally got me into kind of the holistic stuff, his account is Real Soul Bra or Soul Bra. He's got cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really cool guy. One guy that's just straight up fitness, but like the best bro scientist out there. He's a fitness guy that really knows his stuff. Doesn't get dogmatic about things. He's a good guy. I think his handle's AJA Cortez. Ajax is what he goes by.
Mm-hmm.
He's another great guy. And another one, there's two more that I've recently connected with that have pretty big followings that are great. One of them his name is Aboud Bakri.
Mm-hmm.
Abud Bakri. He's mostly he's on Instagram now too. He's on some other platforms. His big platform is Twitter.
Yeah.
He's actually a doctor, but the guy is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
And his whole goal is like help all people, but he's especially helping guys. And then another guy, Noah Ryan, mostly on Twitter as well, but he's also on Instagram. And he's like 25, 26.
Yeah.
And he's kind of a cool case because he was on like SSRIs for years. And he just left to Latin America to like live on islands and like rabbit hole and transformed himself into like a Giga Chad.
Yeah.
Naturally.
Yeah.
And so like he's just helping dudes do the same, So I think those are the four that most immediately come to mind.
Awesome. Well, sweet, man. Well, bro, thanks so much for coming on.
It's good times.
You're my guy.
Thanks for having me.
I'm excited for the growth of our friendship.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping this is a launching pad.
I hope you're on stage 3, Taylor.
the friendship availability.
Yeah.
I've been burned by too many guys.
I've been burned, bro.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate everyone for listening. Go give Terrell a follow, check out his stuff, and appreciate you listening. Okay.